hour on GBC News and Governance Channel. I am Valencia Tete. Reports reaching GBC News indicates that the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, Mr. Kofi Ofosu-Nkansah, has been picked by the Special Prosecutor. He is alleged to have distributed some money to delegates ahead of the NPP's January 27 parliamentary primaries. The reports also say Mr. Nkansah's rival of the Asante Akim Central Parliamentary seat, Mr. Kwame Enchi, brought the sharing of money to the attention of the Special Prosecutor. This culminated the arrest of Mr. Nkansah. He was then taken to his office in Accra to assist the investigations. Mr. Nkansah is the primary contender challenging the incumbent Mr. Enyimadu Enchi for the Asante Akim Central Parliamentary seat. From March 2024, government workers who do not have the Ghana card will forfeit their salaries. This follows the alignment of the NIA database with that of the Controller and Accountant General's Department database. The Controller and Accountant General, Mr. Kwesi Kwenin Bosompem, said the Ghana card is now an essential document for payment of salaries.
This achievement today, I urge all stakeholders to embrace this change wholeheartedly. I encourage every government employee on our payroll to register and obtain your national identification card, as it is not only essential for assessing your salaries and pension, but also crucial for your own empowerment and civic engagement. Also remember that with effect of March 2024, this year, all employees without Ghana card face the risk of being not paid on the government payroll.
The Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu has cautioned court staff against the practice of preparing legal documents for court users, as they do not have the legal authority or are not lawyers for the job. Justice Tokonu emphasized that court officials who pretend to know how to prepare these legal processes cause unwanted legal problems for unsuspecting court users and warned them to desist from the practice or face disciplinary action. She was speaking at the Community Sensitization Program and inauguration of a court complex at Atebubu in the Bono East region.
Program, the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, was worried about the court officials who prepare petitions, applications, affidavits, and statutory declarations, although they do not have the needed qualifications to do so.
I am shishi. It's enough. Send yourself court and what Emma amount from my court a bear kaka would be minister. Now, I never hear Basava. It's in a poster. It's as if I'm being hard on you. But it's very critical that the citizenry does not run away from justice delivery because of our behavior.
Justice Tokonu was emphatic about her quest to rid the judicial service of corrupt staff who only look to line their pockets on the back of ignorant court users and giving the service a bad reputation.
The High Court in Accra has adjourned to February 1, 2024, the case in which former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abnadapa and her husband, Mr. Daniel Osei-Kuffour, filed an interlocutory injunction against the Office of the Special Prosecutor for seizing and freezing their accounts and assets. Ms. Dapa, who is fighting the OSP against the seizure of her assets, wants the Human Rights Court to temporarily stop the OSP from confiscating her assets and interfering with her rights until the final determination of her judicial review application.
In court on Tuesday, the Special Prosecutor, Mr. Kiseja Ben, was present for the first time since the case began last year, but the former Sanitation Minister and her husband were absent. The case was held in camera. The state of the case accompanying the motion for injunction stated that the former minister will suffer irreparable hardship if the OSP is not restrained from further confiscating her assets. It prayed the court to, in the ultimate interest of justice and fairness, balance the scales of justice evenly by restraining the respondent. The OSP commenced investigation on Myzz for corruption and corruption-related offences following the revelation that she was keeping more than $1 million in her house. That was after police prosecutors had arraigned the households of Myzz and her husband, Mr. Daniel Osegufo, for allegedly stealing money and items worth millions of Ghana cedis from the couple's residence at Abilinkwe in Accra. The former minister argued that her application for judicial reviews was necessitated by the OSP's prejudicial and arbitrary conduct from the inception of his investigations into corruption and corruption-related offences allegedly involving her and the husband.
Partners in the education sector want the government to review its policies, especially the Free Senior High School initiative. Speaking to GBC News in an interview, a former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Mr. Charles Ahetochiga, while commending the government for focusing more attention on TVET education and the introduction of STEM schools, called on the government to make resources available to schools to enable them to deliver on their mandates.
It's not enough to have the numbers. It is people go there for a purpose. So now we have to go through and ensure that they get exactly why they are going into technical schools. If the workshops are not there in the schools, then it becomes very difficult for you to get the required skills that we want you to have at the end of the training. A new technical school with something like a traditional chemistry shop being a workshop.
Did you know that operating a key cutting and duplication business, rubber stamp publication, sales and private security services without a license is illegal and attracts sanctions? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. But who is responsible for granting these licenses? GBC News had chats with the head of public affairs at the Ministry of Interior.
Section 38(1) of the Police Service Act 1970, Act 350, and Regulations 5 of Legislative Instrument 1571/1992 forms the legal basis for the Ministry's engagement in the licensing and monitoring of the activities of private security organizations, PSOs. Section 38(1) of the Police Service Act 1970, Act 350 states that the minister may, by legislative instrument, make regulations controlling the establishment of and operations of any private security organization and the registration of all private security organizations. Locksmith Licensing Act 1994, Act 488 states that a person shall not engage in business of making locks, repairing locks, or cutting keys unless a person is granted a license by the minister to ensure a safer business environment and security for the citizenry. The Ministry of the Interior is embarking on a nationwide tour to monitor, sensitize, sanitize, and streamline the operations of private security operators, key cutting business operators, rubber stamp producers, and seal producers to ensure that they comply with the law guiding the operations.
If you are not registered and you are not monitored properly, you are going to sort of execute some services of sorts for other Ghanaians who may need your services. So it is important that you go through the right channels for you to be scrutinized, because when you apply for this to operate private security company, you don't just apply or don't just start. When you apply to the Ministry of the Interior, Ghana Police Service, National Intelligence Bureau also take it up and investigate to ensure that the company or the membership or the leadership of these companies are in good sort of a character in terms of security and other things. They don't have any security threats.
Executive Chef Faliatu Abdul Razak has expressed her gratitude to Ghanaians far and near who supported her journey to break a Guinness World Record in cooking. At a media briefing in Tamale, she pledged to be of service to her country and called on the youth to remain resolute in their desires to be determined to achieve their dreams. Having cooked for 227 hours from 1st January to 10th January 2024, she made over 156 meals and served over 3,000 plates.
Should you ever want to give an opportunity to anyone in the world, do consider Ghanaians, both male and female. We have a lot of potentials in that if you give us the support, if you give us the coaching, if you give us the opportunity, we will impress beyond imagination. I was expected to do 5 days in the cooking marathon, but the motivation, the encouragement, the love.
We're going for a break. We'll be back. Thanks for staying on. To protect the youth against the spread of cervical cancer, experts believe that vaccinating about 70% of the preteen male and female population against the disease can help curb its spread and eradicate it entirely. Hence, Optimist International, a global volunteer group, is urging governments to embark on nationwide cervical cancer screening and vaccination, especially for preteens.
Affects women, cervical cancer is identified to have a known cause which is preventable. The human papilloma virus is spread through sexual intercourse and can also cause cancer of the vulva, vagina, the penis, throat, and mouth, among others. Cervical cancer can be treated when detected early after screening. It can also be prevented through vaccination. Although these vaccines have no adverse side effects, they are said to be more efficacious when the subject is yet to be exposed to the virus, predominantly preteens.
You should get 70% of your people screened, and out of the 70% that you're screening, 90% of those people who have lesions should be treated. If you do it that way, you're aiming to you're looking at 2030 beginning to eliminate cervical cancer, and it's a policy that fits into everybody's work if you are serious about dealing with cervical cancer. And if you're screening 70% of your population, then it is national enough for it to have an effect. Otherwise, we have what we call sporadic screening, and it does not reduce incidence very well. You will not get very good results if you are sporadically screening.
It is estimated that about 80% of the global population would be infected with the human papilloma virus in a lifetime, especially women in their childbearing ages. Prevention, therefore, is better than treatment, even though treatment for cervical cancer at the various stages has also evolved over the years.
We don't have a national screening program, and we also don't have a national vaccination program. So you need a network, a lot of trained people who can screen. Sometimes they can treat on the spot. They can, as it were, freeze out the abnormal cells, and then it's done.
Optimist International Ghana is taking action at the country level to whip up awareness about the disease and screening, as well as compel government to make it a priority to vaccinate pre-teenagers, both male and female, nationwide.
Now, on the foreign front, officials in Somalia say Al-Qaeda-linked Islamist insurgent group Al-Shabaab on Wednesday killed one person and captured 5 others on a United Nations helicopter in central Somalia.
Some reports said it had been forced to make an emergency landing, while others said the landing was a mistake. Al-Shabaab controls large parts of southern and central Somalia. The group is affiliated to Al-Qaeda and has waged a brutal insurgency for nearly 20 years. The seizure of the helicopter was confirmed by Galmudug Region Security Minister Mohammed Abdi Adan. Several foreigners and 2 locals were on the helicopter.
And that's how we end News Hour on GBC News and Governance Channel. We'll bring you updates in a subsequent bulletin. Until then, enjoy the rest of our programs. I am Valencia Tete. Have a good morning.